Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05 Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and thanks again for joining us once again on Tuesday evening. Can't believe it's almost been 2 years that we have been doing this every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. And, it's really great hanging out with you, talking to small business owners, small business leaders about key topics that can help you be more successful in your business. At the end of the day, being successful in business is all about leadership, and your business can go only as far as you're prepared to take it. So one of the reasons why we do this is to help, give you exposure, perspective, and understand and learn ways to become better leaders and better business people. So this week, once again, we have a tremendous guest. Actually, we have a super tremendous guest. As you may have seen, Randal Pinkett is our guest. We're going to talk about secrets for raising capital in the current environment, but we're not just going to talk about that because Randal's really a renaissance man and he's done some tremendous things. As you know, I don't usually read people's bios, but I think in this case, I want to make sure that, you have a feel for who he is and what he's done. Randal Pinkett has established himself as an entrepreneur, speaker, author, and scholar. He is a co-founder and chairman and CEO of BCT Partners, a global multimillion-dollar research, training, consulting, technology, and data analytics firm. BCT's mission is to provide insights about diverse people that lead to equity. The company has been recognized by Forbes as one of the best management consulting firms, Ernst & Young as Entrepreneur of the Year, Manage HR Magazine as a top 10 firm for diversity and inclusion, the Black Enterprise 100 list of the nation's largest African-American owned businesses, and the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. That's tremendous. Last week I was at the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit, which was tremendous. So shout out to the guys at Black Enterprise. You put on a great event. Dr. Pinkett is an expert in several areas relating to emerging technology, big data analytics, culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and is a regular contributor on MSNBC, CNN, and Fox Business News. An international public speaker, he is the author and co-author of several books, including Data-Driven DEI, the tools and metrics you need to analyze, measure, and improve diversity. Black Faces in White Places, 10 game-changing strategies to achieve success and find greatness, Black Faces in High Places, and 10 strategic actions for Black professionals to reach the top and stay there. Also, Campus CEO, the Student Entrepreneur's Guide to Launching a Multi-Million-Dollar Business, and No Money Down CEO, how to start your dream business with little or no cash. Not only that, he holds 5 degrees, a BS in electrical engineering from Rutgers, an MS in computer science from the University of Oxford, over in England, MS in electrical engineering and Ph.D. from MIT, and most notably was the only African American to receive the Rhodes Scholarship as a student at Rutgers. And he was inducted to the Academic All-America Hall of Fame as a former high jumper, long jumper, sprinter, and captain of the men's track and field team. And he was the winner of NBC's hit reality television show, The Apprentice, a lifetime member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and happily married to Natasha, and proud father of 2 daughters and 2 sons. So definitely already, he's still a young man and already done many lifetimes worth of accomplishments. So it's my extreme pleasure to invite Randal Pinkett to be my guest this evening on Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Good evening. How you doing, Randal?
Doing well. It's good to be live at 8:05. That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling good.
All right. Definitely. I just wanted to take a minute. You've done some great things. It's incredible how life is. We met way back when we were in college, both undergraduates studying engineering, and more than 20 years later, we won't say the total number of years later, we're back again, spending some time. And I don't know if you know this, but one of your first speaking engagements was at the New York Life Insurance Company.
Yep.
And I actually worked there and was there and saw you.
I remember it vividly. Yep. I remember it.
Excellent. So, definitely thanks for joining in. I know you got a busy schedule, so I'm glad I had a chance to get you. But I read your bio, and it's tremendous. But you've had a great journey, and if you could just talk us through some of the key highlights of your journey and some of the key learnings that you've had along the way.
Absolutely, I'm happy to. My story began in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I was born. My parents met in Philadelphia. My mother was a graduate of Temple University. My dad, a graduate of Morgan State. He then moved to Philadelphia and was working at a company called Atlantic Richfield, also known as Arco, a long ago predecessor to Exxon and Mobil. And my older brother and I were both born in Philadelphia. My dad was a pioneer in that he attended the Wharton School of Business in the late 1960s, got his MBA at the Wharton School, and then, believe it or not, got a job at Goldman Sachs. Yeah. And they decided to move to New Jersey so that they could be equally distant from Philadelphia and New York, where his job was, close to family in Philadelphia and close to his job in New York. So I ended up moving at the age of 1 or 2 to central New Jersey, specifically East Windsor, New Jersey. And I spent all of my years coming up right there. Went to public school, went to a public university, Rutgers. At Rutgers, I studied electrical engineering, was always good at math and science, gravitated toward computers, and my brother and I were designing software when we were in middle school. So I was always that, kind of nerdy engineer, young person who was always tinkering with the computer after my parents bought the computer when we wanted a video game. That's a whole nother story. But engineering was my calling. Track and field athlete at Rutgers, as you mentioned, high jumper, long jumper, sprinter, involved in extracurriculars like the National Society of Black Engineers. And it was through the National Society of Black Engineers that the then president of the chapter, a gentleman named Wayne Abbott, and I should mention, Wayne and I grew up together. We went to the same schools, and coincidentally, Wayne went to Rutgers, studied electrical engineering. He was 2 years ahead of me. He was my brother's class. My brother was 2 years ahead of me. Wayne graduated high school, Hightstown High School, went to Rutgers, studied electrical engineering. I graduated from high school, studied at Rutgers electrical engineering. So I followed in Wayne's footsteps. But here's where I'm going. Wayne's senior year, which was my junior year, roughly. We were both there for 5 years. That's another story. Wayne started a business designing and selling Afrocentric t-shirts. And I remember seeing Wayne at the student activities fair at the beginning of the school year for when students return and student groups have tables to introduce themselves to the first year students to join their clubs and activities. Wayne had his table selling t-shirts. And I was floored seeing someone 20 some years old who looked like me, grew up in my neighborhood, went to the same schools I went to, running and operating a business. And it prompted me literally in that moment to flash back to all my years growing up. I was the kid who sold lemonade. I was the kid who sold candy in the halls of his high school. I was the kid who tried to sell his toys to other kids in the neighborhood, even though they were all broke, just like me. They had no money, I had no money, so I didn't sell any toys. Where I'm going with this is seeing Wayne selling those t-shirts prompted me to say, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And it changed the trajectory of my life. I gathered up my roommates and my friends in college. Jeff Robinson, my roommate. Lawrence Hibbert, Dallas Grundy were our little brothers in the National Society of Black Engineers. I was assigned to Lawrence. Jeffrey was assigned to Dallas. I also grabbed up Alwyn Porter, another one of my roommates. And that next semester, we started a business. And wait, here's where the story gets even better. We were 21 and 20 when we started that first business, selling compact discs. Yes, compact discs. Hold on a second. Let me pull one out for you. Right. There's one of these. For the folks that don't know what I'm talking about, someone's laughing right now. That's right. We sold compact discs. I still got some right here behind me. Probably bought this for myself, for my own company. And while there were 5 of us who started, and then we added Rakiba Seeley, who was a sister at University of Pennsylvania. 4 of us, Lawrence, Jeffrey, Dallas, and myself, 30 years later, because I just turned 51 last month. I turned 51 last month. I was 21 when we started that compact disc business. The 4 of us are still together in business. That's right, 30 years later. We are still together. We still get along with each other. And now we run one of the largest Black-owned businesses in the country. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
Man, super impressive. No, definitely. Definitely starting out in selling lemonade, selling toys. It sounds a little bit like our story. I started in 4th grade with a paper route.
That's right. That's right.
My brother would sell his toys door to door, but people would actually buy them. So he was a better salesperson than both of us. But
absolutely, no doubt about it.
Yeah, but actually, I don't know if you remember, we had a t-shirt business in college too, and we used to hire our friends at different universities. So
that's right. That's right.
Definitely the entrepreneurial streak is not something that you just wake up with one day. Many times it evolves over many years.
The seeds were planted at a young age for both of us.
Yep, and I really liked how you mentioned your team. And one thing I always say is business is about relationships. And how do you what do you view as those are some of your key relationships? But I know you've built a lot of relationships over the years. And what are some of the keys for people to be able to successfully build relationships?
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like I could teach a masterclass at this stage of my career on business relationships. And that's not just the partnership amongst my co-founders. And it's interesting that people often say, do not go into business with friends or family. And that has not been my experience. And that's not to say that there aren't risks in doing so, but rather to say, I think what is better stated is, don't go into business with certain friends and family. And I went into business with friends that became family because they are my brothers. And in addition to the lessons I've learned from those intimate relationships with my business partners, my co-founders, is also that we have grown BCT Partners, our company. It has been predicated on partnerships. We operate in the public and the private sector. And anyone who's familiar with the federal marketplace knows that federal contracts are often very wide in the scope that they encompass. And if you're looking to grow in the federal marketplace, it is this dance between specializing in certain areas, but being able to manage across multiple areas, because you can't do it all. But if you want the contract, you have to manage it all, and then outsource or partner, might be the better word in this context, for how to deliver on the full scope of work. So we have grown considerably in the public sector off of partnerships. And I mean lots of different partnerships. We formed 3 joint ventures over the course of our growth. We've done an acquisition, and we'll probably do 2 more acquisitions this year. We formed what's called a contractor team agreement, which in the federal marketplace means a JV without having to form the legal entity of a JV. We've done a range of partnerships, legal, formalized, structured partnerships to essentially fuel our growth. And if there's a lesson I've learned about partnerships, and we can share others, here's one of my favorites. And I actually found the language for this from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, but it only had described what was my lived experience up to that point. In the book Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about what differentiates great companies from good companies. And the good company, the good leader of the good company, thinks what and then who. What should we be doing? And who should be on our team to help us do it? And Collins describes that leader, the good leader, as a genius with 1,000 helpers. Picture that, a genius with 1,000 helpers. He argues, and I agree, that the great leader thinks the opposite, thinks who first and then what? Who should be on my team? Who should be in the room? Who should be a part of my inner circle first? And then we together will figure out what we're going to do. And that model of who first and then collectively figuring out what we should do, that it's not all on me, whether I'm the CEO or whether I'm the individual contributor, that we're going to all figure this out together. There's a metaphor and a practice in that speaks to how you solicit and elicit the perspectives and the voices and the energies and the contributions of the team to galvanize together the path that we will pursue, that we now have buy-in. We now have a collective sense of what we're doing and where we're going. And that has propelled our growth at BCT, is this fundamental principle of who first and then what.
Okay, that's an excellent point. At the end of the day, when you're talking to investors, especially equity investors, many times they'd rather invest in a great team than a great plan, because the team can always figure things out. But if you just have a plan, if things don't work out on the plan, is there anywhere that is the team able to right the ship and put things where they need to be? So you're 100%, but that type of leadership isn't common, and it takes a special type of leader to be able to do that. I think that you talked about certain friends and family. Um, and I agree with that, but I also would say that in college is a special time and you build relationships for life. So those are great friends and people to collaborate because you know each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, a lot of the people you don't really know people's work ethics or, many things. So, but yeah, forming a community and a team of people you know really well and who have skills is key. So,
And I'll quickly add to your point. I mean,
mhm.
look at history. Yahoo, founded by two classmates. Google, founded by two classmates. Facebook, founded by two classmates. Nike, founded by a student athlete and his coach at the University of Oregon. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, Paul Allen and Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey and Jeff Jacobs. I mean, there's all these heralded stories where we often focus on the individual, but the fact of the matter is it was a team, and more increasingly a team who met when they were young.
Yes. Yep. Definitely makes a lot of sense. So, we've got a lot of people on and we've got some great comments and feedback. So keep them coming. Also, if you have questions that you'd like us to address, feel free to put them in the chat as well, because we're sharing this for you. Before we get started, I just want to take a second. We do this through our Small Business Pro University, so it's important for people to know what the Small Business Pro University is. So we're going to just take a 1-minute break to check out a quick video, and then I'll be back talking small business with Randal Pinkett. Do you own your business or does it own you? Is your business growing and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need. At www.sbprou.com, we will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Randal Pinkett, talking small business. Of course, our topic is financing, so we're going to move in that direction. But, there's so many great things that he's done and he's doing that, we're going to take the conversation where it goes. Again, feel free to comment, ask questions. So Randal, you've had these businesses. How did you finance them? Did you have difficulties? What were some of your success stories? What were some of your challenges around financing your businesses?
Yes. So let me backtrack to where we were before the break. So that my first book was Campus CEO. And the reason why I was able to reel off all of those student founded businesses like Nike and Google and Yahoo was because I studied student businesses and I was a campus CEO. To your point about financing, my second book was No Money Down CEO. And I say that book was and is for the broke entrepreneurs, because I was a broke entrepreneur and my business partners were broke too. We were all broke. We had no money and we bootstrapped. In fact, we had contemplated calling that book Bootstrap CEO. That was one of the other titles we contemplated. We bootstrapped the business. And I have to give my co-founders tremendous credit, because at the ages of 21 and 20, we were disciplined enough that every single dollar that we made, I mean every dollar, we reinvested in the business. And I remember when we hit the milestone of $100,000 in revenue, we were probably 24. we thought we hit the jackpot. We were high-fiving. We were doing chest bumps. We thought we had arrived at $100,000. I said, we were like, yo, we have done it. How did we hit 100 grand? And we had about $30,000 in the bank. And we said, you know what? Because we were all part-time. We were all, I think Jeffrey and I were in school. Dallas and Lawrence were working full-time. Dallas was at Lucent Technologies. Lawrence was at Merrill Lynch. And we're sitting around. We were at Columbia. Jeffrey was at Columbia at the time. We were in one of the classrooms for our corporate retreat, and we said we got enough money if somebody could work for the company full time. Like somebody could work full time, and so we're drawing straws, figuratively, not literally. Figure out who's going to jump ship and join hit the payroll. Long story short, Lawrence and Dallas decided to both leave their jobs. Corporate positions at Merrill Lynch and Lucent Technologies. They both took significant pay cuts. They went full time. They grew the company that year. Again, we're in our 20s, from 100,000 to 300,000 in that 1 year. But again, at every step, they were getting paid below their worth, below their market value. Every profitable dollar we put back into the business. We never got paid a distribution from our company probably for the first 15 years before we actually paid a distribution, because we were so cash strapped. So we did not get investment dollars. And I can tell a story about how we tried but failed. I'll save that for perhaps more questions. But we put every dollar back into the business, and that was the basis upon which we were able to grow the business. And now we own all the equity. We never had to bring in an equity partner.
That's outstanding. You hit on some key points that I always talk about with business owners. And the first one is, who's your most important investor? And that's you. And and even if you're in business, that doesn't mean you don't have to still put money into your business. So, hopefully you're getting money out at times as well, but, it's very, very important to understand that, many business owners, they make it because they put their money in, and, rarely are you ever going to get anybody to give you any money if you don't have any money. And I'm sure you learned that the easy way and the hard way. So excellent. So now that you're grown, and you're a BE 100 company, and really one of the fastest growing companies, how has the access to capital situation changed for you now?
Yeah, and I want to again take one step back to take two steps forward. You raised a very important point, and I want to break a myth. I want to dispel a myth. The myth is that you have to have a lot of money to start a business, and that's a myth. There was a study done of the Inc. 500, the 500 fastest growing companies in America, and they surveyed them and asked them, how much money did you raise in order to start that business that was fast growing, not failing, not declining, but growing fast? 1 out of every 10 of the Inc. 500 raised $1,000 or less. Now, granted, we were in the category of or less. We were in the category of less. But half of them, listen, half of them, $20,000 or less. Think about those numbers. With all due respect, most people could figure out how to get a credit card to get them access to $1,000 or less, or maybe even $20,000 or less, to leverage that if business ownership is their aspiration and is their dream. So I want to first dispel the myth. Now, fast forward, we're a B 100 company, Forbes best management consulting firms, Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the country. Where we gathered up all these accolades. I'm gonna tell you this, Andrew, and I'm gonna keep it real. 2019, we went to our first acquisition. Healthy balance sheet, healthy financials, sustained performance. we went to our existing bank for a loan to finance the acquisition. They told us no. We didn't get the financing. We went to another bank, presented the same package to them, and this was a profitable company we were acquiring also. That bank said no. We ended up financing the acquisition using our line of credit because we couldn't get a bank to finance the acquisition of one profitable company of another profitable company. I have nothing but criticism for the financial services industry when it comes to small business. That if we couldn't get a loan to finance that deal, and my experience with banks is the following: they will give us a line of credit that I'm slightly oversimplifying this. With all due respect to my banking friends, they will take our 3-year running average of our revenues. They'll average that and they'll give us 10 to 20% of that in working capital, which means if 3 years ago I was at $1 million, a year ago I was at $2 million, and now I'm at $10 million. I'm being financed at 13 million divided by 3, which is not my current reality. Right now I'm 10 million. You're giving me the access to capital for a running average over 3 years. That is insufficient capital. I have yet to experience financial institutions that are adequately financing small business. They will adore you when you're over 100 million. Anything you need, we got. We're here to help you. Below that, I think that they are risk averse and woefully inadequate to the needs of small business. And that's just been my experience. I've been in the game for 30 years.
Okay. No, I mean, definitely, access to capital, they don't say it's difficult because it isn't. And even more so for diverse businesses. And part of it is that, also I teach access to capital, and, another piece is, a lot of times people aren't prepared for capital, because you have to understand what is and how it works. But usually that's earlier on in your business career. You're continually learning things along the way. So I want to circle back to something that you said that I say to people all the time, especially when they're like, I want to go into business, or I want to go full-time instead of part-time. And, one of the biggest things is, when you go into business, you're going to work harder and make less money for a while. And, if you can't stomach that, or if you're not prepared to do that, then you need to rethink what you're doing. So, definitely your story is a perfect example of that. And, so definitely, those are key things. So I know there's people working on creative financing for entrepreneurs and small business owners. And I think now organizations are able and willing to do different things that they did in the past, especially with, a lot of nonprofits and other organizations. And I know Lanier's doing something creative over at Q'd. What are you seeing, and, where do you see that going?
Yeah. And, to your point, shout to Q'd, this CUEED, the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development at Rutgers. Lanier Richardson, executive director, my business partner and co-author of Black Faces in High Places, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, is the academic lead over at Q'd. I think the most exciting development in small business financing over the past few years has been crowdfunding, which is the legislative act that opened up the opportunity for businesses to raise money by crowdsourcing financing. That is, many may remember that Obama's first run for office was one of our first experiences with crowdfunding. He raised lots of money through lots of people giving small donations, $10, $20, $30, $50. And that was the basis upon which he didn't have to rely on traditional campaign financing. Similarly, crowdfunding for businesses says, I can launch a campaign for people to invest in my business by making small contributions, $10, $20, $50. And that's now kind of, it's an avenue that has been opened and is now, people are beginning to raise awareness that this is an avenue that can be explored. And it is in some ways democratizing the access to capital, that you're no longer dependent like we have been on a traditional financial institution. I would also throw in two things. One that was in the comments. I think the SBA still remains a viable option for certain size loans, particularly for companies that are in startup mode, need emergency financing, are looking for renovations or other infrastructural improvements for their business, funding business plans, et cetera. In fact, Dr. Robinson and his wife launched a day spa, and they were SBA loan funded, for example. And then lastly, I would say is thinking particularly about access to capital by looking now at a growing number of programs that have been launched, particularly post George Floyd, that are accelerator programs, incubator programs, boot camp programs, and certainly, Andrew, you're doing a lot of work in this space, that are also being coupled with equity funds and access to other forms of capital that entrepreneurs can now access in order to help finance their business and finance their growth. So I'd say those three things are all fertile ground for new opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. It's an exciting time because, people are willing to try new things. It's a scary time also because, a lot going on in the world, a lot of uncertainty. But, one thing I talk to people about is, no matter what, you can thrive in business and not just survive. If you focus on being proactive, nothing's going to come to you. You got to be creative. You can't do the same thing that everybody else is doing. And you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to do things that other people aren't doing. And talk a little bit about how you've been able to do that with your businesses and how it's helped you to succeed.
Yeah, we learned some early lessons from our early failures. I mean, my co-founders and I, we've launched 4 ventures over those 30 years. BCT is by far the longest standing and most successful of all the ventures, but that's because we learned the lessons from the failures of the predecessor ventures. And we didn't do a really good job early in our entrepreneurial journey of being more paranoid about what the competition was doing and what we needed to be doing to stay current, if not ahead of the competition. I'll give you a metaphoric comparison. Think about what happened to the taxi industry when Uber stepped in. They were not prepared for that competition. Think about Polaroid and even Kodak in the camera industry. Think about what Netflix did to Blockbuster Video. That's a good example. In fact, somebody right now was listening is like, what's Blockbuster Video? That's my point. That's my point. So we didn't do a good job early on. And so I remember having a conversation with Lawrence, our president, my little brother from college. How's that? He's like, he said, we got to find an angle that is more differentiated. We're too commoditized right now. Anyone could take our business away from us because we're not that distinctive. And we started out in the consulting industry. Think Booz Allen, think Accenture, think Deloitte. Those were our larger counterparts in the consulting industry. So it's like, what can differentiate us? And so we started being more intentional and more deliberate about what were capabilities we could develop that could indeed differentiate us. And we really embraced and leaned in on data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing. We hired a chief data scientist, Pete York, who's brilliant and has really ushered in a level of innovation, sophistication, and differentiation for our business that we've now been deploying a series of, some might call them products, we'll call them solutions that are very differentiated. I mean, we've launched an equitable impact platform that is a big data platform for aggregating data sets that can illuminate inequities. In the midst of COVID, we launched a solution we call CUSP, C-U-S-P, for COVID Urgent Service Provider Tool, which was geared toward helping responders and even philanthropists pinpoint geographic areas that needed resources, that they could be strategic in directing those resources. We've been leveraging virtual reality to create immersive experiences for how you can see the world through somebody else's eyes. We've deployed a methodology that we call precision analytics, which uses machine learning to analyze existing administrative data sets for social programs to be able to understand what is working and for whom, down to a very granular level, that we can be both prescriptive of what to do with that individual and predictive that if you do it, here's a prediction of what improvements or successes you can anticipate. So I'm just giving you a short list here of some of the solutions vis-a-vis products that we've launched, all centered on data and analytics and insights. Hence our mission at BCT, which you cited in my bio. Our mission is to provide insights about diverse people that lead to equity. That probably makes even more sense now. Insights about diverse people that lead to equity.
Okay. No, I mean, definitely, it's always good to go to your strengths and differentiate yourself. One key thing that I also ask people to make sure that they look at is look at the trends, look at the short-term trends, the long-term trends. COVID has changed so many things. And sometimes you can ride a trend. If there's a trend that's going in your favor, that's going to buoy your business and help, create growth and opportunities. And, data analytics, that for years to years, that's going to continue to grow and continue to expand and create opportunities. You can't just jump on any trend, it has to be a fit. So you also got to look at your personal strengths and your business strengths to figure out where you fit in. Mm-hmm. But, with your educational background and all the things you're doing, it's no wonder that you've been really successful in that space.
And Andrew, and real quick, another, response to your response. One of my favorite books that transformed my thinking on how to think about innovation and competition, Blue Ocean Strategy.
Okay.
Blue Ocean Strategy changed when Lawrence and I had that conversation. What we were really saying was, how can we develop a blue ocean strategy? And very simply, a blue ocean strategy says, rather than competing in a very highly contested market, they call that the red ocean, is there an uncontested space that you can create and have no competition? And the example that I love from the book is Cirque du Soleil. Like, if you ask most people, what is Cirque du Soleil? The answer is Cirque du Soleil. Like, who do they compete with? They're not the circus. They're not the movies. They're not a play. They're not theater. They are Cirque du Soleil. And if you want a Cirque du Soleil experience, you have to go to Cirque du Soleil to get it. So that's a blue ocean business model. Cirque du Soleil.
Okay. Yeah. So really being able to differentiate yourself, but also, when you're small, it's important to focus and really niche down as tight as possible so that, one, larger companies aren't going to go into the smaller niches because it's not financially feasible. But also, it allows you to really provide a specialized service and grow your business and have your own team of support before you can, have your base, and you can use that to catapult your business. So who would you say, was your niche that really allowed your business to kind of develop and expand into what it is now?
Yeah, I will say this, that our business sits at the intersection of diversity, equity, and inclusion, technology and data, and healthy and thriving communities. And again, I'm referencing a number of books, including my own books, but I mentioned Good to Great earlier, and Good to Great talks about the hedgehog effect. And it asks some fundamental questions. What can you be the best in the world at? And when we ask ourselves that question, if you're at the intersection of wanting technology and data to help address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, while understanding the implications for communities and the livelihood of communities, as BCT Partners, we believe that we can be the best at that. And when we bring all three of those lenses together, we really do shine and outshine anyone else, in my humble opinion. And that has been kind of our value proposition, to put it in business parlance, of where we have distinguished ourselves, where we have differentiated ourselves, and where we have built up a proprietary suite of services and solutions that is growing, but we believe is and will be unparalleled.
Okay. No, that's outstanding. One of the things about your business is it's almost perfect timing to what, you were building it, and, things came together. And it reminds me of something that I heard many years ago, is like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So, you've been working hard and moving, and then just the world moved to where you are.
I love it. I love it.
Did you plan
like
that, or did it happen?
I love it. I also say that success is not where preparation meets luck. It's where preparation meets opportunity. And to your point, the events of the summer of 2020, the confluence of George Floyd's murder and the COVID-19 pandemic, set the stage for a different conversation about equity than one we'd ever seen before. We were prepared because we've been doing work centered on equity before, and it opened up an incredible kind of a tidal wave of opportunity that came to our doorstep because the timing was impeccable.
Yeah. So no, I mean, definitely, leads to me to something I say to a lot of business owners, because a lot of people think you can be an overnight success, right, just because they heard of you. But, really the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. So, I've never heard anyone say that, I became real successful, but I didn't do any work.
Real talk.
So, yeah, definitely. So, you've been talking about, focusing on what you do, focusing on what you can do best and most profitably. So, we've covered a whole bunch of great stuff. I always hate that an hour goes really fast. And we could talk like this for like hours and hours, but it is late, and we appreciate people tuning in. We've got some comments, and before we close out, there's a few things I want to do, but first, Randall, I don't know if you remember Tyrone Taborn.
Oh, of course I remember.
Okay, all right. Well, he's in the technology space, and he's created a metaverse. So he was a guest a couple months ago, but he created STEM City Metaverse, which is really great platform. It's 2D metaverse now, but he's looking to be a 3D. But it's great because we broadcast through his metaverse in addition to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So we're getting high tech too. But yeah, he's another one, another person doing some great things out there.
It's good man right there. Good man.
Yeah. So, I usually like to ask, since we cover a lot of topics, for guests to really just boil down 3 things that people should take away and they need to be doing starting tomorrow or even tonight if they're night owls. But take a second to think about it. We're going to take a quick break. Right. As you know, I do a Power Breakfast event. I've been doing them for 10 years and started in Newark, many years in Newark. And you talked about Lanier. He was actually the first sponsor we had for the Power Breakfast over 10 years ago when he was at BCDC. And we're coming back to Newark on July 29th. So those of you who enjoy great networking, great food, and like to learn best practices and make connections. Over the past 10 years, we've helped people get tens of millions of dollars in financing and create economic development in the tens of millions of dollars as well. So it's not only something you come to just because it's great, and you come to because it can help you be more successful in business. So here's a little bit about what the Power Breakfast is. Okay. Actually, if you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences. My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I've been hanging out with Randal Pinkett, talking small business, and really sharing some valuable nuggets for business owners, whether you're new to business or whether you've been in business. These are key things that are valuable for you to learn so you can lead your business and be more successful. So Randal, we've talked about a lot of stuff. What are the 3 key takeaways that people could put into action based on what we discussed tonight?
So I'm going to draw those 3 things from my latest book, Black Faces in High Places, just released back in February of this year. That's my business partner and co-author and college roommate, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, right there. And in the book, we break down these 10 strategic actions to reach the top and stay there. And I will answer your question as follows. First is really around finding meaning. That is, in the book, we talk about this concept, this Japanese concept called ikigai, Ikigai. Go ahead and Google it, folks. You'll see a wonderful diagram, Ikigai. And ikigai asks the question, what do you love to do? What are you good at doing? What does the world need? And what can you get paid to do? What do you love to do? What are you good at doing? What does the world need? And what can you get paid to do? At the center of the diagram, go ahead and Google it, folks. Ikigai, Ikigai. You see at the center of it, ikigai is the Japanese translation of meaning, your reason for being. That's what the ikigai means. So first, I would suggest to the listeners and the watchers is think deeply about your ikigai, about your meaning, your calling, your reason for being, because that guides you. Second is think like an entrepreneur. Now, I know there may be many entrepreneurs listening, but there may be some who aren't entrepreneurs. That's all well and good. I'm here to say entrepreneurship is not just something you do, it's a way that you think. And the characteristics of an entrepreneur's thinking are creativity, resourcefulness, courage, resilience, and passion. I would argue that entrepreneurial thinking is the defining mindset of the 21st century. You could be an entrepreneurial librarian, an entrepreneurial teacher, an entrepreneurial corporate employee if you channel the mindset of an entrepreneur. That's number two. And then third and finally, my advice would be, because I just gave you strategic action 3 from the book, strategic action 7 and 8, because they're both about entrepreneurial thinking. And now strategic action 10 from the book, seek significance, not success. Said more colloquially, be a go-giver, not a go-getter. It's another book, Go-Giver. A go-giver is the one who prioritizing what they can do for others, not what they can do for themselves. Significance is about what you do for somebody else. Success is about what you do for yourself. Oh, how our world would be that much more powerful, plentiful, and purposeful if we all sought significance first instead of success.
Okay, outstanding. So we've got meaning, entrepreneurial mindset, and seeking significance.
There you go.
All those, are key because, you have to give to get, and you have to help other people if they're going to help you. And at the end of the day, you need to feel good about what you're doing. And this has been extremely valuable. Definitely great feedback, from the audience. Definitely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. And really, looking forward to, seeing where you go from here. You're still a young man, so the sky's the limit. And, looking forward to that. And, then you'll be an overnight success.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the invitation to enter into this space, to have this dialogue with you, Andrew, as we've stayed connected over many, many decades. I'm proud to see what you're doing to lift up small business owners, because small business owners are the lifeblood of our communities, of our economies, and our societies. So keep on doing what you're doing, because the work you're doing is a ripple effect, not just for the entrepreneurs and their business owners, but also for their families, for their neighborhoods, for their communities, for our nation, and for our world. So thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Hang out for a sec. Let me just close things out. And, once again, a great evening talking small business, and really excited about what we've had a chance to cover. Actually, I put up Randal's company website and his business website. Actually, Randal, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
They can go to randalpinkett.com, Randal with 1 L.
Okay. Randalpinkett.com. Okay, great. So definitely, feel free to reach out, check out his book. Books. He's done some great things. There's a lot more learning in what he's doing. So definitely invite you to do that. So once again, just want to wrap up today's show and give you a preview for next week. Next week, we're going to have our special guest, Deidre Viney, and she's the managing director of Express Employment Services. And we're going to be talking about hiring and retaining the right people, because in this day and age, so many companies have not been able to access and retain the people that they need to continue to grow and be successful. And many times it's because they're not doing some things that are not that difficult, but that make the experience such that you can make your employees more successful where you are, as well as, make them, more likely to stay and also to be able to attract good people. So, I'm definitely looking forward to having Deidre on the show next week. And, as we close out, one of the most important things that I always talk to business owners about, and, at the end of the day, it's not just for business owners, but the more that you know, the faster that you'll be able to grow. Take care and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.